Honorable Datuk Isham Isa, Secretary General Ministry of Transport Malaysia, Dr. Rosby Abdul Rahman, Chairperson of Working Group Trade and Connectivity ICT, and he is also Director of Strategic Planning and International Division, Ministry of Transport Malaysia. Mrs. Busaya Suramana, our good friend, Directors of International Affairs Division, Ministry of Transport, Thailand. And we have also with us Mr. Nahnuddin, Head of Division for Bilateral and Sub-Regional Cooperation, Ministry of Transport, Indonesia. Mr. Gary Krishnan, Senior Country Specialist from Asian Development Bank, also with us. And we have also Pak Prasetyo, Directors of Transportation and Business Development, PT Pelindo 1 Indonesia. So Pak Prasetyo cover most port in Sumatra Island, around 16 port if I'm not mistaken, and cover at least 4 provinces. And we have also Mr. Muhammad Sukran bin Marzuki, Acting Head of Commercial Penang Port. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Swadikap. Indeed, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome our special guest today, Honorable Datuk Isham Isa, Secretary General Ministry of Transport in Malaysia. He's also going to inaugurate our conference today. Allow me also to welcome Dr. Rosby Abdul Rahman, Chair of Working Group Trade and ICT from Malaysia, who is going to moderate our discussion this morning. And I will also to thank our distinguished speakers for the support and accepting our invitation. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, transport and ICT connectivity is one of the important pillars in IMT-GT cooperation. Working Group TICT is responsible for both transport and ICT connectivity cooperation. Without adequate connectivity, it is for sure we will not be able to achieve our goal in these sectors. A seamless, inclusive, sustainable, safe, and secure network of interconnected transport corridors. Our discussion today will focus on transport connectivity, which will cover mainly 2 elements: transport facilitation and transport infrastructure development, with objective to have a seamless interstate transport operation, greater people mobility, and better air linkages with increased flight capacity and frequency. Since the lockdown policy implemented in IMT-GT countries and most of the country in the world to contain the spread of COVID-19, its impact to economy regionally and globally is really severe. Transport for both land and maritime may one of the first sector to experience the impact of this catastrophe due to the closure of business activities and people movement restriction policy. In Malaysia, for example, I still remember during our discussion last week, a few weeks ago, during the MCO period, AirAsia said 96% of its fleet grounded, and the company faced a profoundly serious situation. The same situation also happened in Indonesia and Thailand. However, government have been doing their best to keep transport network operating safely to facilitate flow of goods, services needed by people, while at the same time, we have to contain the spread of coronavirus. Thanks to God, the situation is slowly getting better in IMT-GT countries, and hopefully the pandemic can be overcome by the end of this year. But we were warned, economy may take a long time to recover. In this connection, we need to strengthen cooperation and promote exchange of experience and best practices on how member states mitigate the impact of this pandemic. We believe No one country can solve their own problem. Instead, we have to cooperate together. In IMT-GT, we have 5 economic corridors. The 6th corridor is still under the study conducted by ADB, which would be completed by this year. Thanks to Pak Gary from ADB for being with us today. You may share with us on the update in corridors and perhaps other sub-region experience in managing the impact of the pandemic. Economic corridors have around 48 billion US dollar worth of the PCP project, which consists of development of port, bridges, toll road, railway, and cross-border facilities, which spread out in the sub-region. Our speakers today will share with us of their perspective on the current challenges arise from COVID-19 and how we can get through from this unprecedented crisis. I look forward to having a full discussion with the moderators, Dr. Rosby Abdurrahmanan. Thank you so much for the welcoming remarks. And now, without further ado, allow me to invite our special guest today, Datuk Isam Ishak, Secretary General, Minister of Transport Malaysia, to deliver his opening remarks and at the same time to inaugurate our conference today. Datuk, you have the floor now. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, and I'm very happy to be here to be giving the opening remarks. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Director of CIMT, Mr. Firdaus Dahlan, for presiding over today's conference. The timing for today's conference is very, very timely. To date, we have more than 82,000 cases, active cases of COVID-19 in ASEAN, and around more than 700 active cases that is still happening. So this thing seems to not end, it will continue, but we may not be able to do anything now without the vaccine, but we may be able to manage the impact so that our economy, our people, especially the topic of discussion today on the connectivity is not disrupted. Once it's disrupted, that will really destroy many of the efforts that we've been working for quite some time until today. Nevertheless, I would like to acknowledge the members who are present in today's conference. I believe there are more than 25, but let me recognize some people here. First and foremost, Mr. Naduddin, the Head of Division for Bilateral Sub-Regional Cooperation, Ministry of Transport, Republic of Indonesia. Welcome. Next is Mrs. Busaya Suramana, Director of International Affairs Division, Ministry of Transport, Thailand. Mr. Gary Krishnan, Senior Country Specialist, Regional Cooperation and Operations Coordination Division, Southeast Asia Department, ASEAN Development Bank. ASEAN Development Bank is very synonym with IMT-GT. They have been with ASEAN since the inception in 1967 until today. They are our closest partner, our closest ally, and we will be working closely with them to ensure that we could at least manage the impact of COVID-19 in the ASEAN region. We have also Mr. Praseyo, Director of Transformation and Business Development, PT Pilindo 1, and Mr. Muhammad Shukran bin Masuki, Head of Commercial Finance Import, and of course, representative from Malaysia, Dr. Rosby Abdurrahman, Chairperson of the Working Group on Transport Connectivity, Director Strategic Planning, Ministry of Transport Malaysia. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I would like to welcome everyone to this conference. It's good to see everyone here. Today's session to me is very, very important, very, very critical, and very, very timely, as the sessions that I can see the agenda for today will be very, very useful for us to enhance the cooperation among IMT-GT members so that we can find a way around this problem to mitigate the impact so that it does not really impact us so badly. We must find a way around to ensure the connectivity among the IMT participants continue to provide the necessary support for us to come out from this calamity that we are facing. The first session this morning, as I can see, is the sharing of information, sharing our experience. That will be very important for us to gauge where we are, where the gaps are, and what else can we do better to improve our situation. Next on the session will be the mitigation on the impact of the COVID-19 on the transport corporation. But more importantly, I think that to help guide the discussion this morning will be on turning the crisis into opportunities. Yes, we have challenges. Yes, we have problems, but we need to turn these problems and crisis into opportunities. And how can we do that? Now, that is something that will require for us to think out of the box, something that will require for us to create greater cooperation, for us to find options, and also for us to ensure that the plan that we have today is supported by each and respective government so that we can provide the necessary connectivity to make sure that our goals, our objectives are met. Ladies and gentlemen, the IMT-GT Vision 2036 and also the IMT-GT Implementation Blueprint 2017 and 2021 has laid out plans for us to see the vision and the objective that we need to work towards. We must remember this. This will be the basis for our discussion this morning. For the IMT-GT Vision 2036, what is important is the goal number 3, which is for us to ensure that sustainable, inclusive, competitive advantages of IMT-GT, the way for us to find a potential strong and sustained economic growth with significant multiplier effects. Now, we do not find a way around the challenges, the gaps that we will have, and turn that into opportunities, then goal number 3 will not be realized. On the implementation of the Blueprint 2017 to 2021, it already lays down the importance of us to ensure that the connectivity helps support growth of real GDP, increase the trade, ensure FDI inflows, ensure that there will be continuous international visitors when we are ready with the vaccine, and also to ensure that the SMEs, especially those who are greatly facing the greatest problem at the moment, and also ensuring that the Green City Action Plan is implemented. So those are the blueprints, objectives that we need to ensure we continue to find a way around and meeting those objectives. So today's session is very, very important, as what was mentioned in the opening address by Bapak Firdaus just now, on the importance of this regional connectivity in ensuring that we continue to prepare ourselves to become the growth center around this region. Ladies and gentlemen, the commitment by Malaysia will not see a decline. We will continue to ensure that we continue to support the work by IMT-GT. The IMT-GT is not a new organization. Today, it's 27 years old, and we must continue to ensure its strength as we move forward. But when we move forward, when we say about growing strength, today is a very important day for our conference to find a way around this and to find, as I mentioned just now, the out-of-box solution on how we can remain connected to ensure the objective, the vision that has been set out in the Vision 2036 and also the blueprint continue to be met. On the COVID-19 and transport and ICT sector, the transport and ICT connectivity should be continue to be supported because it remains as a critical role in linking the sub-region and also the economic corridors in order to enhance trade investment. Yes, other countries are facing problems, but the faster we can organize ourselves well, the faster we can have action plans, the faster that we can have support from our respective government on our plans, we will be able to come out from this crisis much more quickly. And we can become the first mover advantage in bringing in new investments because of the strong cooperation that we have. For Malaysia, with the assistance and the support from the regional organization, namely NCRA or the Northern Corridor Implementation Authority, as well as the East Coast Economic Region Development Council, these are the two authorities that will be responsible for providing direction and devising policies to support the work done under the IMT-GT. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been also talking about this travel bubble in the sub-region. Well, looking at travel bubble, what we are looking is each individual countries becoming a green zone so that we can continue transporting people, cargo, as well as goods among the region. So these are very, very important because these activities actually create the necessary economic growth that we need to generate development in the IMT-GT. So it's important that we work towards having some form or some kind of cooperation towards making sure that the travel bubble in the sub-region could be realized. And we should just not look at individual countries for travel bubble. We should look at the region as one single green zone bubble. So there must be a way that we could find on how do we track and trace people with COVID-19. We put them aside. We only find people who are healthy and safe so that we can carry on these economic activities. And I would like to urge that perhaps our long-term partner, the ADB, could help us study on how our supply chain is exposed to COVID-19 risks and the impact of COVID-19 on the transport sector in this sector. Because with this study, we could identify the challenges and gaps that we need to list and see how we can come up with action plans and proposals to overcome some of the obstacles that we are facing. Ladies and gentlemen, one important thing that has come up in many crises in the past, namely SARS and others, is the use of the digital technology. Now, in the last SARS crisis, e-commerce came about very strongly and supported the growth of the economy. So with COVID-19, the use of digital technology in ensuring that the connectivity, not only physical, but also the people-to-people movement, must be supported. There are many initiatives that has come up from this use of digital technology. Number one, the government delivery systems in terms of permit issuance, permit application, licenses, those must be facilitated. The faster these are facilitated, then the movement of people, the movement of cargo will also be facilitated so that we can continue to ensure the robust economic growth in this region. Next will be the payment system. In the past, we've always depended on the traditional payment system. But now with this electronic and use of digital technology, electronic payment must be promoted. This will all help facilitate the businesses, especially the SMEs. The SMEs are the backbone of our respective economy. They must be supported, they must be facilitated, and we hope that the discussion that we have to do today will be able to support the SMEs who will be the generator of growth in this region.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, ladies and gentlemen, before I close my a bit long welcoming remarks, will be the role of what we need to do today. Number one, as I mentioned today, is for us to identify some of the commonalities that we have done. We put them together so that we can share this information so that those countries who have not been able to overcome some of the obstacles could look at what other countries have done so that they can emulate these processes and implement them in their country. The faster we come out of this, the better. Next, we'll have to look at the gaps that we are facing. Now, these gaps must be discussed, must be identified, and then we look at how we can turn them into opportunities. And once we have identified how we want to do it, next we need to put them into action plan. And this action plan must be executed as fast as possible. And of course, once we have an action plan, we must try to sell this plan to our people. So it's necessary for us to have a very good comms team to share this communication to the people who will be implementing and looking forward to the plans that we will be coming out with today. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to encourage those private sector initiatives in ensuring that they support our initiative today so that we can come out of this crisis successfully, and more importantly that this action plan that we will do will benefit all the players in the IMT region. I hope today's session will promote the best in terms of sharing and best practices fighting COVID-19 pandemic, and also, as I mentioned just now, a way forward to enhance the transport connectivity in the region. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time and your commitment, and I wish you all the best in coming up with the change from challenges to opportunities, coming up with an action plan and communicating this action plan to our stakeholders. With that, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Dato, for your important remarks. I do agree with you, and also the important for us is to keep to strengthen our collaboration in the three countries in order to maintain the economic growth in the future. And also, one of you, Ayla, also mentioned is very important also for us to be discussed later on, what you call travel bubble or maybe green region bubble. That is also very important for us. We may discuss also during the discussion today. And from CIMT, Dato, we will also to thank you for the continuous support from your ministry and from Malaysia for the IMT-GT collaboration in the future. And also, you also emphasize on the importance for us to identify what is our commonalities and what is the gap we are having at the moment, and then from those points where we have an opportunity to make optimize whatever the opportunity arise post COVID-19. Thank you so much, Dato, for your highlight, and we will do our best for this one. Dato, I know that you are busy, and then before leaving, Dato, may I invite you and all speakers to have the photo session first by showing our logo IMT-GT. So this our love logo IMT-GT, Dato, and speakers, please. All right, we'll count 1, 2, 3. One more time to make sure. 1, 2, 3. All right, I think, thank you so much, Dato, for your time and for your support. Honorable distinguished gentlemen, before I hand over the floor to our moderator today, Rosby Abdul Rahman, allow the Secretariat and CIMT to announce some housekeeping arrangement, please.
Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the IMT-GT video conference series, Managing the Impact of COVID-19. Before we proceed with our session, allow me to make some housekeeping announcements. For the speaker, we will ring the bell once. For the first 12 minutes of your presentation, and we will ring the bell 3 times. I would like to kindly request from the participant to kindly switch off the microphone throughout the session. Should you have any question and comment, kindly type in the chat box, stated your name and designation, and we will respond accordingly. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, team, for the arrangement. Now, I would like to announce the arrangement of our program. So, Dr. Rosby Abdul Rahman will moderate the session under Agenda 3, Agenda 4, and Agenda 5, and under Agenda 6. And for this conference, we will have Q&A for our participants under Agenda 6. So let me continue under Agenda 3, 4, and then we will have Q&A under Agenda 6. So again, I would like also to welcome again the new participant who just joined us. for this conference. And without further ado, I would like to hand over the microphone to my colleague, Dr. Rosby Abdurrahman. The floor is yours, Dr. Rosby.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. Thank you, Mr. Firdaus. Before we proceed with the rest of the meeting agenda, I would like to give welcome to delegation from Ministry of Transportation Indonesia, led by Mr. Nahdudin. Delegation from Ministry of Transport Thailand, led by Mrs. Busaya Suramana, Director of International Affairs Division. Mr. Prasetyo Pras, Director of Transformation and Business Development, PT Pelabuhan Indonesia 1, members of ICT Sub-Working Groups, Mr. Gary Krishnan, Senior Country Specialist, Asian Development Bank, Associate Professor Dr. Michai, Prince of Songkla University, Mr. Muhammad Shukran Demazuki, Acting Head Commercial Penang Ports Neighborhood at the Center of IMT-GT Sub-Regional Corporation as the meeting secretary. The meeting would like to record our appreciation to Dr. Isham Ishak, the Secretary General, Ministry of Transport Malaysia, and Mr. Firdaus Dahlan, Director of Center for IMT-GT Sub-Regional Corporation for this speeches. The meeting will take guidance from the speeches in our conduct for this meeting and subsequently in transport operation within IMT-GT sub-region, especially in our effort to mitigate COVID-19 impact and establishing safe and smooth connectivity for people and goods. The meeting will continue with Agenda 3, with sharing experience among IMT-GT members regarding measures taken to counter COVID-19 impacts on transport connectivity. Okay, may I first invite Mr. Nahdudin from Ministry of Transportation Indonesia to share your experience with us. Please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Dr. Rosby Abdurrahman, for the time. It's our honor to have an opportunity to sharing our experience. First of all, I would like to thanks to CIMT, and the second, I would like to apologize our director cannot join the meeting regarding there is another meeting. Okay, good morning and selamat pagi and sabadika, ladies and gentlemen, in IMT-GT forum. First of all, I would like to share our experience during the COVID-19 with the brief impact of COVID-19 in transportation sector. COVID-19 has reduced people mobility drastically in Indonesia. Restriction of foreign visitor entering Indonesia, and following by the third, restriction on urban public transport, especially for local train passenger services, especially for Java Island services, and commuter line train passenger services for Jakarta, Bogor, Depok, Tangerang, and Bekasi services. The fourth impact, the decrease of international flight to Indonesia and from Indonesia, and restriction of capacity for the all flights. Next. Another impact of COVID-19 to transport, social distance and physical distance policy limited the movement of people. Thus, the end of transportation has reduced significantly. In aviation, border closure and flight cancellation and caused the loss of earning for airline companies since January 2020 in Indonesia, starting with the suspension of flight to and from China. For the land-based logistic and land transportation companies, including rail services, had suffered declines in revenue since early March 2020. In the first month of the COVID-19 pandemic, demand for passenger transportation in the sea transportation sector also has decreased by around 50 to 70%. Cruise line has stopped operating during COVID-19, thus affected to the tourism sector. The reduce of transportation sector earning which burden of government. From those impact, our ministry has some regulation and some policy we call by transportation policy during COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. The first is Minister for Transportation Decree number PM number 18/2020 regarding the transportation management for the prevention of spread of COVID-19 virus. The second, the decree aim to balance between avoiding increasing transmission risk while guaranteeing in unbroken supply chain of customer goods and well as safe mobility or movement for passengers. The third one is regulate the management of transportation in region of large-scale social restriction. In Indonesia, we call by PSBB. PSBB in Jakarta started by 10 April until 4 of June 2020. Regulation of large-scale social restriction of transportation sector, we try to separate between land transport, sea transport, railway, and air transport. For the land transport, public transport like bus and car, 50% restricted. Private motor vehicle, 50% restricted. Inland waterway and ferry transport, 50% restricted. Motorcycle, taxi, good transport only for the good, not for the passenger. Both operational according to the demand and schedule. In sea transport sector, passenger seat 50% restricted, public ship services economic class only operation. Pioneer ship in Indonesia called by perintis, kapal perintis, this operated in the eastern of Indonesia. 50% restricted to transport COVID-19 logistic, the basic necessity, important and essential goods only. For the railway sector, intercity train, except luxury train, maximum 65% restricted. Urban train like Jakarta, Bogor, Tangerang, and Bekasi, maximal 35% restricted. For the local train, like Prambanan Express and airport train, 50% restricted. The last about the sector, air transport sector, slot time reduction in airport based on the period of evaluation. Flight passenger, 50% restricted. Upper limit rates of airline ticket adjustment and or surcharge enactment. Functional shifting of commercial passenger aircraft configuration to transport cargo, especially medical, health, and sanitary necessities, as well as food to support a seamless logistic process and the flow of goods. We have some statistical data regarding the impact of COVID-19 for transport sector. We try to illustrate in the spot of Merak, Bakahuni. Merak is belong to the Banten province in the west of Jakarta, and Bakahuni is in Lampung, the south of Sumatra Island. This is a crossing ferry with, connecting Java Island and Sumatra Island. We have such kind of data as period of February, March, and April to 2020. As the result of the COVID-19, there is a significantly decrease of passenger, bus, motorcycle, private car, and truck in Merak, Jakarta, Bakahuni, Lampung crossing. The highest demand on the crossing is for truck, which is being used for logistic and movement of goods. And next, our supporting statistic on cruise passenger, we have an illustration by the blue line is illustration of 2019, and the red color it's during COVID time, 2020. The cruise industry has been significantly affected by the coronavirus outbreak. All cruise ships have been temporarily suspended. All its voyages, including to Indonesia and from Indonesia, it's suspended. In Indonesia, there is a decreased trend starting in January 2020, where COVID-19 has just emerged. And this is the data of movement of air transport in Indonesia per April 2020. It's mean during the COVID-19. For the domestic arrival, we can distinguish during 2019 and the difference between 2020 until April 2020. We have illustration for the decreasing nearly 100% with the red color. It's also followed by the international departure, also very significant. The pandemic has affected the growth of air transportation in Indonesia. Of course, aviation industry have suffered significantly with the drastic decrease in airline movement from and to Indonesia. Next, this is an air traffic movement in IMT-GT region. We have illustration during 2015 until 2019. Air traffic passenger during 2015 until 2019, we can see very progressive increase always, but if we compare to the condition after COVID, it's decreased dramatically. Before the pandemic, there is a steady increase of passenger demand in IMT-GT regions. Airline that operated from Indonesia to IMT-GT region during winter, especially October 2019 until March 2020, Indonesia, Air Asia, Lion Air, Sriwijaya Air operated scheduled service from Medan to Penang. Air Asia Berhad operated scheduled service from Penang to Medan. Malindo Air and Firefly operated scheduled services from Penang to Banda Aceh. I think this is my last slide. Transportation play a vital part in revival of all sectors post-COVID-19. Indonesia's plan to commence the relaxation and normalization process in all major sectors, including connectivity. The second, the Ministry of Transportation of the Republic of Indonesia is commencing to revival of connectivity in Indonesia as well as internationally. Government officials are encouraged to travel and evaluate the impact of COVID-19 in destination tourism sector to initiate the recovery of local economy. The last one, the fundamental health protocol issued by the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Health of the Republic of Indonesia is being implemented during this process to minimize the spread of COVID-19. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best for the sector transportation performance for the next. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Dude, for sharing your experience with us. Next, may I invite my colleague, Mrs. Vanita Mohan, to share with this meeting on Malaysia's experience.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam Chair. Heads of delegation from Indonesia and Thailand, Director of CIMT, representatives from IMT-GT Business Council, and Asian Development Bank, ladies and gentlemen, hope everyone is keeping safe. I'll try to keep my presentation as brief as possible before Ms. Robita rings the bell. So allow me to share with you the current condition and impact of COVID-19 on transport sector in Malaysia. Some background for your information. On 18 March 2020, the nation was placed under the movement control order to break the chain of transmission. So essentially, the MCO is closure of non-essential government and private sectors, a prohibition of mass movements and gatherings, and strong advice for Malaysians to stay at home. Then followed the conditional MCO, which we call CMCO, from 4th of May, allowing a large number of economic sector and business activities to operate with guidance, SOPs to be followed, of course. And currently we are in the Recovery Movement Control Order, which we call RMCO, beginning 10th June 2020 to 31st December, where most sectors of the economy are allowed to reopen. We call the RMCO our new transition into the new normal. Okay, some statistics.
Oh, sorry.
Some statistics for the meeting's consumption. Malaysia has recorded, as of yesterday, 8,815 cases, with about 97% recovery and 1.4% mortality rate. Thanks. Some update on the transport sector. The transportation sector is categorized as one of the essential services under the MCO period and plays key role in ensuring the nation's household have access to their daily necessities and people can commute to work, especially those in the essential services. Throughout the MCO period, the logistics sector as well as trade activities remain open with some guidelines to adhere to. In order to allow for the smooth transit and delivery of all goods, the vehicles of freight forwarders and hauliers are allowed to move of sending their goods to their intended destinations. Beginning 4th May, under the CMCO, all public transport services have been allowed to resume normal operations in line with the government's decision to gradually open the economy. Nonetheless, there are SOPs to follow in every sector, and passengers are required to utilize the MySejahtera application, which was developed to assist government in managing COVID-19 situation. The application is also used for contact tracing purpose. For the maritime sector, all ports remain operational except for cruise ship terminals. Beginning 6th June, Malaysian government has permitted crew change activities in any Malaysian port, irrespective of their citizenship or ship's flag, subject to the SOP set. On the aviation front, domestic and international flights are allowed to operate at full capacity, subject to conditions and travel restrictions imposed by the government. Next slide is the impact of COVID-19. For the aviation sector, COVID-19 outbreak has severely affected the global aviation economy, aviation sector, including Malaysia. The number of scheduled passengers, as you can see, has shown recorded a decline from 94.3% from 8,709 times a week in May 2019 to just 493 times a week for the same period in 2020. So this is a comparison of May 2019 to May 2020, the decline. So number of destinations has also decreased from 137 destinations in May 2019 to only 57 destinations for the same period in May 2020. So the statistics show a decline in domestic and international passenger demand from 1st March 2020. Total passenger demand decreased from 280,321 a day in January, this is pre-COVID era, to 7,500. This is of May 2020. In maritime transport sector, statistics show performance of 4 major ports in Malaysia, namely Port Klang, Tanjung Lepas Port, Johor Port, and Penang Port, from January to June 2020 in terms of container handling as compared to the same period. So this is a comparison of January to June 2019 to January to June 2020. So you can see the decrease in percentage. I will not be reading the numbers here. So next slide, please. Okay, in terms of government support, the government continues to provide continuous support in mitigating the impacts of COVID-19. So in the case of Malaysia, the government took a proactive approach of introducing 4 economic stimulus packages jointly worth 67 billion USD, which includes tax incentives, financial assistance for small and medium-sized businesses, and job protection incentives for citizens. To assist the aviation services market, the Malaysian government has announced a stimulus package which includes granting rebates on rental of premises at airports, as well as reducing landing and parking charges to be given by Malaysia Airports Holdings Berhad. During the first phase of MCO, thousands of containers carrying non-essential goods were stuck at ports as government restricted movements. To ensure that essential goods are enough during MCO, special exemption has been given for ports to clear non-essential goods which are congesting the warehouses. To boost domestic tourism, several measures such as personal income tax relief up to 1,000 ringgit for domestic tourism and digital vouchers valued up to 100 ringgit per person for domestic flights, rail travel, and hotel accommodation have been offered. Introduction of My 30 Unlimited Travel Pass, this is a 30 ringgit pass within the Klang Valley via MRT, LRT, monorail, and BRT from 15 June to 31st December 2020 have been introduced. This move is to help alleviate financial burden of commuters and to encourage the use of public transport. The government is also providing one-off financial aid of RM Malaysia 500 to e-hailing drivers, while taxi drivers, tourist drivers, and bus drivers also receive 600 ringgit one-off cash allowance during the period. So, in closing, I'd like to conclude that the government of Malaysia continues to exert every effort in order to preserve the supply chain connectivity and to cushion the impact of COVID-19 among transport sector operators and also workers. That ends my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Vanita. Finally, may I invite Mrs. Busara Suramana to share Ministry of Transport Thailand's experience in managing COVID-19 in transport sector.
Honorable Chairman Dr. Rasmi Binti Abdul Rahman, Honorable Mr. Naduddin, Head of Delegation for Indonesia, Mr. Fidaus Dalan, Director of Center for IMT-GT, Sub-Regional Cooperation, distinguished delegates. I wish to thank CIMT for proposing to convene IMT-GT video conference managing the impact of COVID-19 on IMT-GT, Transport and ICT Tech Connectivity Corporation today to discuss on measures or guidelines in response to the spread of COVID-19 and its impact towards transport sector and ICT in the area of IMT-GT. First of all, I would like to express my deepest condolences and sympathies for the loss of life and suffering caused by the pandemic. I also commend that medical professionals, healthcare workers, and other frontline personnel. Today, the world is facing an unprecedented health and socio-economic crisis due to the COVID-19 outbreak. The pandemic is taking a heavy toll on our economies, societies, and people's well-being, including, but not limited to, the travel and tourism, manufacturing, retail, and other services sectors, as well as the disruption of supply chains. The global drop in flights has caused severe financial disruption to the aviation sector. The ADB, in its report in April 2020, projected that this year Southeast Asia will post a GDP growth rate of only 1%. And according to WTO, it is forecasted that global trade will contract by as much as 32% due to the spread of COVID-19. In Southeast Asia, the pandemic has so far brought immediate disruptions in economic activities across the region, as evidenced by the decline in tourism flows, disruption in air travels, and weakening in consumer and business confidence as several countries impose lockdown measures such as closing their borders, suspending international air travel, community quarantines, temporary business closures, and travel restrictions or prohibitions to contain the virus. Ladies and gentlemen, since the early stage of COVID-19 outbreak, Thailand has undertaken measures in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, focusing on the prevention and control restriction of movement of people, state quarantine, home quarantine, travel restrictions, social distancing, and setting up the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration, CCSA, to assess and monitor the outbreak situation on a day-to-day on weekly basis, on comprehensively addressing the outbreak. Thailand has put concerted efforts not only to contain and mitigate the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the region, but also to strengthen supply chain connectivity, to make supply chains more resilient and less vulnerable by keeping domestic and international logistics and supply chain open and function, especially for transport of medicines, medical and other essential supplies through air, land, and sea transport. The measures undertaken are as follows. Air transport. Realizing that the situation tends to be more critical since the start of COVID-19 outbreak, the Civil Aviation Authority of Thailand, CAAT, therefore notified airlines and airport operators on clinical practice guidelines for the prevention of COVID-19, and then imposed temporary ban on all international flights entering Thailand, except unauthorized flights. Since the number of COVID-19 infections is readily decreasing, CAAT has relaxed certain physical distancing measures while adopting additional health and sanitary measures as evidenced by resumption of domestic flights and permission to specific persons from overseas since the 1st of July. Land transport. The guideline for international land transport has been also announced for logistics services to limit the area for cargo loading and unloading at border crossing points. Maritime transport. The Marine Department announced the guideline for ships from territories outside the Kingdom of Thailand entering Thai waters, which allow cargo ships to berth at Thai ports for loading and unloading cargo as necessary. Once mission is completed, the ships shall depart promptly. Currently, the COVID-19 situation in Thailand has steadily improved. We have been able to control its spread to a great extent. The chances of infection found have come from those who have returned from overseas and are currently in the government state quarantine facilities. Therefore, the government has eased stringent measures to enable people to resume their daily life and to stimulate economic activities, but is still enforcing sanitary and social distancing measures. while encouraging the use of tracking application called Thai Chana for businesses and consumers, all in efforts to prevent the second wave of infections. As part of the new normal lifestyle, people are encouraged to adopt new practices in transport new normal, comprising both physical distancing and sanitary measures. To help lessen the economic and financial impacts on individuals and businesses, the government approved remedial measures for transport sector, such as providing low-interest loan source and subsidies, reduction of fuel prices, as well as take-off and landing fee discount for airlines. The government also approved this, the stimulus package to mitigate the immediate liquidity problem of SMEs. The package includes a soft loan at an annual interest rate for 2% for SMEs and transport businesses, and a holiday travel fund to stimulate domestic tourism named We Travel Together. Ladies and gentlemen, we are well aware that the pandemic has severely affected not only transport and logistics services, which are the backbone of the economy, but also entrepreneurs and people. Transport connectivity plays a vital role in movement of cargo and passengers in IMT-GT sub-region. However, transport linkages, including road, rail, maritime, and air, have been disrupted by the spread of coronavirus to a certain extent. These projects and activities under IMT-GT Implementation Blueprint 2020 to 2021 have also been affected by budget constraints and operational delays, such as Betung Airport project, bridge linking by Narathiwat, Thailand with Kalangubo, Kelantan, Malaysia project, and second bridge linking Sungai Kolok, Narathiwat with Rantau Panyang, Malaysia project. Due to the lockdown imposed to contain the further spread of the virus, e-commerce in goods has played a vital role. We therefore need to accelerate IMT-GT's e-commerce platform project to expand the market demand before the second wave outbreak. In this regard, Thailand would like to recommend to the direction of working group on transport ICT connectivity as follows. First, determine the timeline and funding for new projects based on transport connectivity priority. Second, enhance transport safety integrated with digital platform and technology to ensure effective transport new normal. Third, support SMEs, entrepreneurs who are affected by COVID-19 to recover and adapt effectively to market in new normal era. And fourth, accelerate implementation on e-commerce of IMT-GT for mutual benefits. Finally, Thailand stands ready to give full support to the working group on transport and ICT connectivity in order to strengthen the IMT-GT sub-region's ability to respond to the crisis, and also to retain seamless linkage as well as innovative and inclusive sub-regions. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Busaya.
Okay.
Next, I would like to continue with Mr. Gary Krishnan, Senior Country Specialist from ADB. Mr. Gary, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pak
Idrus, Dr. Isham, Chairman, Dr. Rosby, friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. So please allow me to start my presentation. I'll try to share my screen. And okay, there you go. Right. Okay. So my overall presentation will start off with the support that we have to our region, Southeast Asia. And then I'll start to focus as per the topic on Pimpiaga, IMT-GT, of course, and GMS. And our response is basically on three components. And I think this is being echoed by both Pak Firdaus and Dr. Isham. And basically we're talking about the same 3 R's, which is the phases that we are currently going through, which is initially responding to the pandemic, trying our best to recover from this pandemic, and throughout this, then instituting initiatives and actions and so on to build our resilience for the second wave and so on. What we have seen from this pandemic, the one thing that we know for sure, that it will not be the only pandemic that we face, and therefore resilience, building resilience is very important. I will also discuss about some of ADB's initiatives under IMT-GT, including the Green Cities Initiative and the Integrated Green Transport Plans. They were post-COVID, but are now proving to be extremely crucial in a post-COVID world. And then we'll talk about the second component about this, where we are meeting today and talking about opportunities to provide ideas and opportunities to move forward as a grouping. So let me see. Okay, right. With regards to, sorry, excuse me, this always happens. Sorry, just when you don't want it, your phone rings. Okay, so let me talk about the first, which is the R, our response. You know, this virus has been devastating and been very unique, this pandemic, because it has been instantaneous, simultaneous, affecting everywhere and everyone. Now, the initial 3 speakers that we heard, we have seen that even sectors that we don't normally as a community see, but we've noticed how devastating the 3 speakers have mentioned about how COVID-19 has affected the transport sectors. And if you can imagine something as fundamental as our transport sector being affected, then that translates to all sectors being affected. And right now we are seeing that commercial supply chains, for example. So ADB Respond has also been unique. We have never acted so quickly before and in such a large response. So far we have already provided for 3.7 billion in this last 4 months, and another near-term facility of another close to 4 billion. Now, these areas are specifically in for supporting healthcare responses, supporting poorest and most vulnerable, as well as the effects on businesses and economies. At the onset, I and ourselves really need to acknowledge the role of the private sector. So at the onset, at the very first, is not the largest package that we have, but definitely one of the most important, that the role of the private sector. I think this echoes what Dr. Hisham also mentioned about the importance of supply chain. So we launched a program to support private sector, namely the Trade Finance Program and Supply Chain Finance Program for companies, including companies manufacturing and distributing medicines to combat COVID. So the private sectors in Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines have supported from this facility. So is basically the three phases of this pandemic right now. Southeast Asia was about affected around March when we were severely impacted, and then began our response. From then, some countries are now in the recovery phase, and at the same time, we are beginning to initiate some initiatives for resilience. Now, it's important to note that this COVID-19, these three phases, if you like, unfortunately do not appear lean, which means our responses may not lead to recovery. Is and supported by resilient measures, we may not again have recovery. So even where in cases where in countries in Southeast Asia where we are already in the recovery phase, but that is kept, the Ministry of Transport acknowledged that we are still under lockdown mode or semi-lockdown mode, and international travel, for example, is prevented. So what will happen if international travel then is allowed to happen? So, and that is why in our second phase of our conference, opportunities is so important. Where does opportunities fit into with regards to this? Well, if we leverage from opportunities, it will help our recovery. Under the new normal, new sectors will be winners and losers. So we have to help people who can win, and to help the recovery process. And second, we have to strengthen it. Only by leveraging on opportunities do we get to make ourselves more resilient. So where does ADB sit in all this? I think we serve both to BIMPIAGA as well as IMT-GT. We are your regional development partner to IMT-GT. That is what's mentioned by Pak Fedros and Dato' Isham. We thank you very much. And also we support, sometimes we like to play with, cooperate with CIMT to part of the secretariat role in supporting CIMS, CIMT, as well as we are the full-fledged secretariat to the GMS. Now, so ADB is relevant. We see ourselves relevant for a couple of reasons. The first reason, we are a financer, providing or mobilizing resources. Second, we are your development partner, working with various stakeholders, and also a knowledge provider, creating, consolidating, disseminating knowledge. And in this regard, I want to acknowledge events like this. Thank you for ADB allowing us to participate, but we find this very, very useful, not only for ADB, but for member countries to share. So here are some of our responses for this crisis. We started quite early, as I mentioned before. In the case of Indonesia, we provided some grant as early as March, 20th of March. And then we have a specific COVID-19 response, which we tailor-made to the Indonesian government, and that was 1.5 billion US. And in the Philippines, likewise, there was a grant, initial grant of 3 million, followed by a $6 million grant, where we also leverage on the assistance from the Filipino private sector. 23rd of April, another 1.5 billion in the similar program that we arranged with, as in Indonesia, but this time with the Philippine governments to tailor-make their own conditions. And then we provided a 200 million for cash credit, and then a 500 million for the 4 Ps, which is Filipino Pantawid Pamilyang Filipino program, which is basically cash grants to children under the age of 0 to 18. Also in our response, in our GMS, here are a list of our responses highlighting some of our major responses under the GMS. Of course, Thailand is a very active member in GMS, and 1.5 billion was a similar program that we, it was a counter-cyclical support facility that we designed in conjunction and in response with the Thai government. So we provided 250 million to Cambodia, Myanmar, and Healthy Borders Special Border Economic Zones project covering 3 countries, and additional financing under the Laos, PDR, and Myanmar through the GMS Health Security Project. And again, we just want to acknowledge that under our big program, which all the countries here are incorporated, big, as you know, capacity building program, BIG stands for BIMPIAGA, IMT-GT, and GMS. Again, we provided a series of, I think, let me see now, close to about 12 webinars, or if you like, or conferences or seminars, and they perform the function is exactly like what we are trying to do here today in this working group. So thank you, CIMT. And I think the objective that we are trying to achieve today, and in the PACER dialogues, that we policy actions, awareness, sharing of knowledge, explore how we can leverage on opportunities, and then strengthen our networks for policymakers during this crisis. So here are the ones that, the webinars that we have. The first 2 was quite interesting in the sense that we, at the very onset, Republic of Korea and New Zealand, those are 2 countries that have exemplary responses. So we got them to explain to ourselves and to policyholders in the BIMPIAGA, IMT-GT, and GMS, what were their responses and how they saw their responses, and whether they themselves viewed their actions as good or bad, or what were their experiences and lessons. We also did, just like in the working group or in IMT-GT, we did a section on tourism, and then what we have done further as well is up to 6 that we're finished. And in fact, today, this afternoon, we will be having one for addressing digital technologies, which is a topic of our, part of the topic of which we are here discussing. And focus on ICT as well on the 12th of August. So please let us know if you want to have access to this, and we're more than welcome to have to bring people here who are in part of this group as part, invite them in the series. And on today's digital technology, this will occur this afternoon. Another thing that we want to highlight is that I noticed that some of the speakers today, they made a very good presentation about their policies that they have undertaken. So what ADB has done in terms of trying to capture all the countries, so we heard from Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand Ministry of Transport earlier, what they have done. So what we have done is, we have captured all these comprehensive action plans of each and every government. And it's amazing how much you can learn from each and every government. So what we've done is we've provided a policy database and for sharing. Anyone is accessible, and you can see what all the other countries are doing it and how. They include financial as well as non-financial, non-economic measures, social sectors, and so on. So I think it's, please avail yourself to this policy database that we covered. Okay, So moving into recovery and resilience, I think Dr. Isham early on suggested that that ADB undertake a supply chain study. And in fact, I'm very pleased to tell Dr. Isham, we will be covering some components of the supply chain in 2 studies in IMT-GT. Supply chain in with regards to special border economic zones, as well as economic corridors. I think Pak Fridros mentioned about we currently have 5 economic corridors, and 1 is being proposed, and we are helping in that study. And also with regards to GMS, there is a very good learning knowledge product with the GMS Healthy Border Special Economic Zones project, which covering Myanmar, Cambodia, and Laos, which are basically covering investments aimed at COVID-19 resilience. And also resilience with regards to another initiative that we undertook last year. So this was way before pre-COVID, but again, some of these initiatives we are seeing in a post-COVID world, these kind of measures is going to be critical. So our blue economy is an economy that is going to expected to flourish under a post-COVID world. So this is one of the opportunities which we should really grasp. So BIMPIAGA and IMT-GT, in fact, ministers expressed an interest to pursue healthy oceans and blue economies as a new cooperation agenda. And so again, the COVID-19 crisis offers an opportunity to turn around the environmental damage caused by marine pollution. And let's face it, all our countries are either archipelagos or peninsulas or islands. So it is really critical that we undertake some of these issues. So the ADB plan is to add significant value to both BIMPIAGA and IMT, given the 2 subregions' dependence on marine ecosystems, not only for our livelihood, but also for our food security, as well as tourism. Which comes to our resilience. I think Pak Isham as well, beat me to it, so I want to echo his sentiments. He said that it's very important to undertake some of these green city initiatives and prepare them and in fact enhance them. So what ADB has done, we have undertaken green city action plans. We've also knowledge sharing in the green city conferences, and we're also providing through the ASEAN infrastructure and ASEAN catalytic green finance facility. So these are the green city action plans have come up with a lot of projects, and those kind of projects which qualify for this catalytic green finance facility. And they also include under post-COVID world, public transport, non-motorized traffic, and rationalizing the public spaces for parking. So just a little bit more about the integrated transport plans. So the integrated transport plans covered Phuket and Krabi, Langkawi and Penang, and Banda Aceh and Pekanbaru. We did a seminar in 2019 in the sidelines of the 25th IMT-GT and to disseminate the findings and recommendations. And lo and behold, low carbon, green transport, electrification of vehicles, public transport, non-motorized traffic, and parking were identified. All these are going to be critical opportunities in a post-COVID world. So, so some of the recommendations are very easy, low-hanging fruits, which are also very, very important, especially now with social distancing. So some of the recommendations are not huge infrastructure projects, but they also include some initiatives that we can undertake in our cities right now. For example, upgrading of footpaths, developing cycleways as a quick win. We can utilize the economic stimulus of spending being deployed to shore up failing economies. These investments can be done quickly and create jobs, and is also promotes a healthy environment for our communities while social distancing. So a couple of slides more. I think some of the positives that, that believe it or not, there are some positives from this COVID. One of them that we have seen is that ICT has enhanced the development gap between cities and rural communities is now being made closer. Another very positive thing is that for years, and it's remarkable how we have failed in this, but we have never managed to persuade the poor towards adopting banking facilities. And this pandemic has made that possible. So there are some positives from this COVID, and I think we should leverage on these opportunities going forward. So under the ICT, digital technology and digital trade, I think we can, for banking, I think some have already mentioned that financing, we can undertake, make banks, especially smaller banks, more efficient, especially for medium and small SMEs. For example, we can utilize cloud banking. We can leverage on technologies and digital trade. And if you look at the policy database, you'll find some countries have already undertaken, like Malaysia, trying to encourage micro enterprise and small and medium enterprises to adopt a platform of digital platform. So again, please go and look at this policy database, and you can find some of the countries are already embarking, and I think it's also Thailand, embarking on an ICT platform. Again, one of the critical issues that we have is for like transport. It is the backbone for IMT-GT in your Vision 2030. It is one of the supporting pillars. So transport and transport facilitation, the promotion of sustainability through the expansion of public transport and electrification of private passenger and freight transport is one of the areas for future development, and it will be the new norm. Other green transport which can be considered by IMT-GT include shared mobility, cycling, hyperloop transport for more spaces, for livability, among others. I think some of the IMT-GT as well in ASEAN, we're quite good at bilateral agreements and ASEAN-wide agreements. So I think that needs to be encouraged, and they need to be refreshed and updated for the new normal. So improve coordination and information sharing, especially for cargo vehicles, with and supplanted with health measures. And that's going to be a difference from now with our transport. How do we bring in health screening measures or additional measures? So for all our agreements immediately needs to be updated with a health element. So this is my final slide. So moving forward, I think where can IMT-GT take? What are some of the collaborative approaches that we can take? I think in GMS, we have seen the health sector come to its fore. I think Thailand can maybe, support me in in ADB in making some comments on how the health sector has been critical in GMS. So although we don't have health corporations, not part of the IMT development and agenda, I think going forward, there is a need to improve information sharing, establishing local and cross-border disease surveillance, and explore sharing of laboratory and testing services, and maybe hospital infection prevention and control. And especially in this working group, how you would know better, we are ADB cannot preach to the preach, how can transport sector incorporate health measures. Tourism, we talked about a green bubble in this area. And one area which I remember in the IMT-GT tourism working group, we touched on this. What about health tourism? That is a major opportunity. What if a member country will make treatment of COVID-19 as a health? That is a gap. We talked about gaps that need to identify. So far, everybody is too scared. But imagine there is an opportunity now to treat COVID patients, not only from your country, but throughout the region. So who is the first to do this? Maybe you might want to do it in an island. I don't know, if you know, your borders, you don't want to bring COVID patients into your country. So that's a way of looking and thinking about it. So again, given our transport nature, I just want to touch on transport corridors. We should also include safety transport corridors, thinking just as much as green bubbles. And for example, agriculture and trade facilities. We should look at reducing food waste, resolving logistic bottlenecks, and review our trade and policy options, especially food security, and incorporate health measures. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Thank you, Indonesia, Vision Guidance, and ADB for sharing your experience in preventing the spread of COVID-19. I hope the lessons and experience we share today and in the future will translate into our strengths to fight the pandemic and prepare for a better future. We are pleased to have Mr. Prasetyo from Pelindo 1 to share with the meeting on measures taken by the board operator in Indonesia to mitigate impacts of COVID-19 under Agenda 4. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Hopefully, all of you in the healthy condition. So, okay, can we start about my presentation? Yeah, everybody knows about the COVID-19 pandemic. Already, we already facing the COVID pandemic in the world, and the COVID pandemic disrupt all the business, all the people in the world. So what we have to do in the disruption condition, before the digitality make the disruption era. So actually now the COVID pandemic make the another disruption era. So we have to agile and adaptive and also innovative to facing the this condition. That's why we have to have like a transformation about all the business, all the behavior, and all of the all of the in people, process, and technology. So, but in people, we have to make some change our behavior, our culture, our mindset, our lifestyle, and community. Before, digitality create a big community, gather big community, and increase the economic scale. But COVID-19 disrupt all of them. Economic scale decrease, no more community gathering. So we have to change. We have to make some transformation to facing this condition. And the process. In the process, we have to make some innovation in our business process. we also have changed our market strategy and also corporate goals and corporate strategy to have a sustainability business. And also the technology in COVID-19 era, disruption era. So we have to have IT-based and also the communication, and we have to have a big data analysis, the strong big data analysis. Next. And what we have to do, I think every people in the world know about the safety protocol to facing the COVID, but some people doesn't care about the that protocol, because human needs a real social contact. Human is social beings. That's why we have to accommodate this condition, still accommodate this condition. And how we accommodate the human as the social condition? We have the condition of disruption because the COVID. We have a 4 condition. We losing thoughts. Avoid the offline meeting. Avoid the social contact. And also off-grid. The center of business gravity shift away from existing. And the COVID-19 make us more mobile and more virtual, more remote, more online, working smart, and etc. And data rich. The COVID push us to have like a big data analysis, big data of our customer, big data of our employee, because big data analysis can make some improve our strategy, real-time information, and also we increase our networking. Scale down, review our target, review our goals, and also we have to more innovative to make some value creation. Because why? Because our business have to still have a sustainability business. So that's why we have to more agility, more innovative, and we have to make some transformation to facing the COVID and to facing the future. Next. Pelindo is the state-owned enterprise that have TES not just a profit-oriented company, but as the state-owned enterprise in Indonesia, we also have TES as the public service obligation, agent of development. The goals of the public service obligation and agent of development is to maintain the logistic chain from west to east and east to west. So sometimes we have to smart when we have to when we have as the public service obligation, when we have as the agent of development, and also when we have a profit-oriented company. This is to accommodate the human social beings. In operation, what we have to do is to implement the ITC program. For example, like in ship operation, we increase our capacity in port operation command center, and for the ship operation, we have implemented the VASA. VASA is a vessel administration and features, and also we implemented the pilotage. In quay and yard operation, we implemented the safety protocol, virtual security control, For example, in the future, we will implementing the drone to control the security and get automation that connected also in port operation command center. In the administration, operation administration, we have to have real-time information to customer, and we go paperless invoice, and we have online meeting to make the operation going well. Next. And in the back office, we have to reducing overtime, and we optimize flexible working time, because in the to avoid the social meeting. And for example, the meeting we can have a meeting online, and also with the customer, with our stakeholder, we have a online meeting. And big data development, we start to make some big data development in another part, in operation, in finance, and also in marketing. So big data development can be as like based on our we improve our strategy in the future. And to maintain our competence of our employee, we have a virtual training and also virtual meeting. Next. What we have done. So Pelindo 1, we already have implementing safety protocol in the September, and before we already have the IT-based system in operation, in finance, and in another field of our business. And also we have like work from home and medical test scheduling for some employee. For example, a rapid test in every month, and if the result of the rapid test is reactive, continuing to the PCR test. And we already implemented the new normal scenario in our operation and our business, and also in the ship operation, in the marketing, finance, and all of the field of our business. So this to maintain to our business still sustain. Next. But imaging the future. Next. Yeah, imagine the future, we have to innovative. IA will reinvent the word agility and adaptive to facing the disruption era, and we have to have integrity in it's our employee, and also we have in its employee have to have a high productivity and low profile. So based on that, the state-owned enterprise have a new core value. It's called akhlak. Akhlak is mean A is amanah, trustship, and K is a competent, and H is harmony, L is for loyal, A for adaptive, and K for collaborative. So hopefully, based on our new core value, all the SOE in Indonesia can have the quantum leap to facing the future, to facing the disruptive era that we don't know what in the future to cause the disruption era. Next. Thank you. I think this quote from Einstein, imagination more important than knowledge. But I think imagination without knowledge is a fake. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your very informative presentation. Now we proceed with agenda 5, turning COVID-19 crisis into opportunities. I recall an English proverb that says every cloud has a silver lining, which basically means that all setback may have an opportunity that may be to our advantage. Therefore, our meeting today is graced by the presence of representatives of IMT-GT Uninex and IMT-GT Joint Business Council to share with us their experience in managing impacts of COVID-19, and perhaps also share with us an opportunities that may present itself. May I now invite Associate Professor Dr. Michai from Prince of Songkla University to share thoughts from academic perspective.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to convey Dr. Michai apology for his regret and apology for not being able to attend this conference. And I will be speaking on his behalf. And first of all, I think let me, yeah.
Okay.
I have some problem with my screen. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes, we hear you. Yeah.
Okay. We have a number of slides to show you about the current status of the IMT-GT connectivity project and update progress. Oh. So you can see the current project and update project. The purpose of these slides just to confirm that the IMT-GT has a potential in the next post-COVID era in terms of connectivity among themselves and also connectivity with China and CLMV. This means that I think all remaining project and program on IMT-GT connectivity, all delay project and all the pending project should be settled out during this time, because when post COVID-19 comes, we will be ready for taking the opportunity that China and CLMV offer us. So we'll getting to the quick recovery, economic recovery, taking into consideration that we have a very shorter supply chain among the ASEAN and China. And that is the purpose of having some slides showing the current of IMT-GT connectivity project and the potential of connecting with China and CLMV. So let me move to the our view on the mitigation measure of what we'll be doing for IMT-GT after COVID-19. We have to develop transportation system covering regional and global. So meaning linkage to China under the policy of One Belt and One Road will be very, very important. We have to prioritize project operation under IMT-GT cooperation according to importance and urgency, and support product distribution, whether along the maritime route, rail and air connectivity. We have to develop transportation and logistics system to encourage online business. And we will be moving toward integration of managing the impact of COVID-19 by synergy with trade and investment working group, such as immigration and quarantine. So for ICT connectivity, we have to prepare for our human resource by developing human resource readiness, by providing knowledge, accessing and getting to know about digital and technology application. And we have to prepare and develop the connection of internet network system to cover and access to all areas of country, both at the national and sub-regional level. I think at the moment, Thailand is very successful in using technology for screening people and products, such as Thailand used the application of Thai Chana to facilitate disease control tracking of customer and help prevent a second wave of COVID-19. So it's, this is to reassure that when next disruption comes, we will be very well prepared and really strong in I mean, overcoming any disruption coming. So we have to support device for people to access digital technology in various activities, such as access to government information, online learning, and open online marketing. We have also to prioritize project operation under IMT-GT cooperation according to importance and urgency, together with support digital technology such as online trading and digital economy. And I think we have to keep important to establishing cooperation in a sub-region to build linkages and logistic network to other areas such as EU, GMS, ACMEC, EEC, ASEAN, and BIMSTEC. And for the Uninet cooperation, what we are doing now is to trying to train entrepreneurs to learn how to do e-commerce, such as online merchandising, online business transaction tool of technology. We help them to create by creating curriculum and exchange knowledge with international logistics system among IMT-GT countries. IMT-GT University Network in the process of creating innovation research and technology together to support the connection of infrastructure transportation and technology between educational institutions in IMT sub-region. In conclusion, I think we have to move toward the total digitalization of cross-border trade and transport facilities mechanism. And any action plan that we are going to prepare should focus on sustainability and resilience, and that would be help in terms of moving toward the internet connectivity in the future. So that's all for our view on the mitigation and what we are going to do for the post-COVID-19 to take opportunity offer in that post-COVID era. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parrot. This meeting will be incomplete without IMT-GT businesses community inputs and views, especially during these trying times where all parties need to work closely together to preserve our well-being. We are fortunate today to have participants from IMT-GT Joint Business Council to share their experience in managing challenges due to the COVID-19. Now, I invite Mr. Shukran to share with us his experience.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Yes. Thank you. So first of all, Assalamualaikum and very good morning to everyone. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Dr. Rosby Abdul Rahman from MOT, distinguished guest delegates and all participants. Good morning. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Muhammad Shukran bin Mazuki. I'm holding the position of Head Commercial for Penang Port Sdn Bhd. And first of all, allow me to say thank you to IMT-GT for inviting me as a representative for Penang Port Sdn Bhd to discuss and to share our views on the business challenges and opportunities that related to the transport connectivity issues for post-COVID-19 in this year. So the first slide, I would like to share on the initiative taken by Penang Port and also the introduction of COVID-19 preventive actions at our port during the movement of control order and also during the COVID-19 pandemic period. Allow me to share on our Penang Port Terminal's view, which is throughout the MCO, movement of control order, PPSB terminal are open 24/7. We belong under the essential good services, which is we need to operate 24/7 during the MCO time. And this is the map of Penang Port, which is we have 6 terminals we are scattered everywhere. We are quite unique. Just to share with everyone, we are the oldest port in the region. Penang Port is one of the oldest port in the region. We start off the port during the French flag time, 1786. And right now, this is Penang Port. We have North Batuas Container Terminal at the bottom. We have a cruise terminal in the island of Penang, cargo terminal for non-containerized and also non-conventional cargo. We have Prime Wharf for our barter trade trading, and also Prime Bulk Cargo Terminal, DG and non-DG terminal. And these are the views of Penang Port terminals currently. And just to share with everyone on PPSB involvement on the IMT-GT framework, which is part of Penang's local hinterland, which is on the north of Malaysia. We have Kedah State, Penang State, and also Perlis State. And of course, on the Perak, Northern Perak, this is our local hinterland for Penang market. And we are also handling goods from Southern Thailand, from Hat Nyai, Krabi, Kantang, Trang, Chumpon, Ranong, down to Penang Port, Sdn Bhd. And based on our previous studies, it seems that we handle more than 70% of southern Thailand goods volume are exported through Penang Port, because we had a daily direct service from Penang to the Far East country, and most of the raw material from local hinterland Malaysia and also southern Thailand goods are moving towards Penang Port, Sdn Bhd. And if you look at these statistic or this percentage of number, as you can see, we handle, these are the types of commodity that are coming from southern Thailand region through Penang Port, Sdn Bhd. We have sawn timber, wood moldings, latex, rubber products, and also rubber. And as we know, during the COVID-19 pandemic period, the rubber products and also latex is one of the most important commodities, which the commodities of raw material will be turned up into the finished good for the medical glove and also all the related health product for, in order for the world to prevent for the COVID-19 pandemic. So these are the three modes of transport that they are coming from southern Thailand to Penang. We have number one is by road, by Bukit Kayu Hitam border, and also Padang Besar. By rail, which is the most of the biggest sector which contribute to the movement of the goods or movement of the container from the southern Thailand to Penang. And one more is by barge. As you can see from the number of the percentage, in 2019, the rail sector represent the most biggest percentage in the movement of cargo, which is 56%. We have 27% in 2019 for the road sector, and one more is 17% is by barge. That is the whole statistic for 2019. Up to year to date 2020, the rail sector dropped from 56% to 44%, and this was due to the closure of the border during the MCO implementation by the government of Malaysia, which is we decided to close the border on 18 March 2020, and this most of the cargo are diverted to the other modes, which is by road, which is from 37% to 31%, and by barge from 17% to 25%. And these are all the movement of goods from southern Thailand to Penang Port. And the challenges, some of the challenges that PPSB or Penang Port Sdn Bhd faced during the MCO, which is on the movement of control order due to COVID-19. The first phase is we have been instructed by our marine department and also all the related agencies that all crews are prohibited from entering into any ports in Malaysia except for provision and also humanitarian assistance. And we have faced the challenges of on the movement of cargo by the allowance of the non-essential goods is not allowed to outgate from the port during the first COVID-19 MCO implementations. And after a few discussions with the relevant authorities, the first phase for allowance for the non-essential goods from the port is being granted on the 27th of March to 29th of March 2020. And also in the second phase, we are also discussing with all relevant authorities for the allowance on the second phase, because during that time most of the goods that enter to our port is not moving out from the port, so it creates the congestion or the high utilization on yard space in our port itself during that time. And also on the third phase, we are also there is also allowance for non-essential and also essential goods. And on the fourth phase, we have managed to talk to convince and also to discuss with the government and also all the relevant authorities to resume back the cargo movement from southern Thailand to Malaysia via train and also via rail. And as we know, most of the southern Thailand goods are moving from from Padang Besar to Penang via Padang Besar border. And we are very grateful that all the operations for the movement of cargo via rail has resumed back to 100% operation, granted for all commodities products from Thailand on the 7th of May 2020. And these are some initiatives taken by PPSB during the pandemic COVID-19 period, which is some of the top action that we have taken. We have established the COVID-19 committee among our staff and also all the associations that related to the port business, that related to the port the activities. And number two is on the initiative work from home. We are also practicing on the initiative work from home, same like others, which is we split the team working for all department and also barricade our canteen and area for dining. And the third one is on the health screening at all premises entrance to all staff and port users. This is compulsory. The guideline we follow by the Ministry of Health Malaysia, which is the compulsory for the health screening at all premises to enter the port. And we do supply the face mask, hand sanitizers, gloves, and also antiseptic cleaner for us to protect for the protection against the COVID-19 pandemic. Frequent updates on the COVID-19 news and information via the social medias, via WhatsApp group, via all the social medium. And establish the guideline on the handling of COVID-19 case. We establish a guideline. We discuss with our environment, safety and health together with the Ministry of Health to establish a guideline on handling all the COVID-19 case. Establish the alternate sites for critical functions, for example, for marine control tower and also container yard planner. We sanitize all PPSB premises and terminals buildings by the internal personnel before starting our full workforce. We establish the SOP on the post MCO and also constant monitoring and checking on all COVID-19 compliance. And next is on the action and also initiative taken during the pandemic COVID-19. And these are also the action taken, which is on the restrict of overseas travel to all staff. All staff are required to fill in the form or fill in the dedicated form before they are allowed to travel anywhere, to ensure that all the contractors, all the port users follow the SOP, and their foreign workers is undergo the COVID-19 test, which restricted to all contractors, supplier, personnel from coming from red zone to enter our premises. We sanitize our cruise terminal, which on bi-weekly basis upon the commence of the operations. And again, the staff need to fill up the borang keluar kawasan for any traveling outside Penang, excluding daily working travel for the management of work. And also we activate the weekly report on the COVID-19 SOP compliance to MITI. And also the last but not least is on our established QR code. We created the QR code suggested by the Ministry of Health for the health screening and for all PPSB premises. And these are all some pictures that we would like to share with the audience and with all the participants on our social distancing at all port facilities. We do the temperature checking for all port entrance, for all port users and also our staff as well. And we station all the thermoscan and also hand sanitizers to all our terminals building. And these are the daily updates on the COVID-19 info, which is we blast these COVID-19 informations, COVID-19 updates on our emails, WhatsApp, social medias, all the social media. And of course, we activate the work from home, WFH, and also we are taking an initiative to pack all the meals for our night shift operation staff, and also for the port users as well during the MCO period. And these are the samples, borang keluar kawasan and borang kembali dari luar kawasan, which is for all employees that are moving out from Penang or coming back to Penang. This is the building disinfection by port users, our own firefighting services and our 40th of Royal Engineers Regiment or Port Reserve. We sanitize all our buildings and also offices so that we will keep the COVID-19 from not spreading out. These are the pictures, and I would like to share the impact due to the MCO on our container volume. As you can see, number one point is on the container volume in TEUs. Before MCO, we recorded a positive growth of 5.36% in terms of container volume in TEUs compared to previous year. And during MCO, until today, we recorded a significant drop compared to last year, which is 6.73%, and even now we are up to 7% drop compared to previous year. On the yard utilization, import laden, before MCO, our yard space average of 40%, and right now we are during the MCO we are average at 55%. That one for import laden. For import empty containers, before MCO, our average is at 36%, and now during the MCO is about 51%. Vessel omitted before MCO, there is none of vessel omit Penang, but during the MCO, the volume impacted about 32,000 TEUs. And of course, on the southern Thailand cargo from Padang Besar border by train, we receive an average of 4 trains a day, but during MCO, due to the border close at Padang Besar, we receive 0 number of train due to the closure of Padang Besar border during MCO. Second one is on the impact for conventional cargo. The cargo volume in freight weight ton before MCO, we had recorded a slight drop of 3.84%, but unfortunately during MCO, the number of freight weight ton drop is at 11.96% year on year. For non-essentials cargo movement, before MCO there is no issues, but during the MCO there is a cargo can't transport to the factories. And open space utilization for general cargo, before MCO there is about average of 60%, and during MCO it increased to 85%. And this is our outlook, PPSB 2020 business outlook for 2020. As you can see, for containerized cargo, we are expected to drop by 8% year on year this year on the container volumes, which for last year, our performance is at 1.490, nearly 1.5 million TEUs. And after revise our forecast, we are expected to handle only 1.3700 billion TEUs for this year. The expected will be dropped at 8% year on year. In terms of local hinterland market, the impact of Penang port throughput is on the export laden sector, which is we can see from export laden sector showing a huge drop compared to previous year and also previous month due to the MCO. Meanwhile, for the southern Thailand volume is also showing a negative trend since the implementation of MCO, and of course, based on our studies and also our investigation, the Southern Thailand cargo is also impacted by the shortage of raw material and also the movement restriction, border closure, and also a lot of factors that contribute to the COVID-19 pandemic. And for conventional cargo, we expected to shrink by 20% compared to last year volume. Last year performance is about 9.3 million cubic ton, and we expected to handle only 7.481 cubic ton for this year. And for conventional cargo, our top players in Penang market is on the steel players, and we knew that during this MCO, a lot of construction have been delayed, a lot of the raw materials shortage because of this movement of cargo was restricted, and also on the cruise operation. On the cruise operation, we expected to reduce by nearly 50% compared to 2019. The last year performance, our cruise terminal handled about 1.1 million passengers and expected to handle only 615 passengers for this year. According to our studies and also our market research, the home porting for international is expected to resume back the operation for our cruise terminal only by Q1 2020. And these are some initiatives taken by Penang Port, and we have identified several key recovery strategies to grow our port business during the post-COVID-19 pandemic. The first strategy is to attract aggressively in promoting vessel layout within the Penang Port limit. So we are talking to the liners and all the vessel operators so that they can use our Penang water for the layup vessel activities. And the second one is to promote and generate new income from the long storage import empty at our North Batuas Container Terminal Yard with a special offer mechanism. We knew that nowadays the movement of cargo worldwide is really impacted by the pandemic, and a lot of the import empties container that needs a space or need space to store their container, their empty container, and we are offering them a special offer mechanism. And of course, we would like to assist and work closely with all the Southern Thailand shippers in order to ensure the smoothness of movement of cargo by cross-border by providing good services, facilities that benefit to South Thailand exporters. And next is to work as a group, because Penang Port is one of the MMC group. We are at the north of Malaysia. We have our brothers and sisters in the central of Malaysia, which is North Port, and we have our brothers and sisters in the south of Malaysia, in PTP, Port of Tanjung Pelepas, and also Johor Port. And we would like to work together as a group to give a first priority for all the main lines operators to enhance the volume and also to increase the vessel cost activities at all MMC ports. And we are also signed a group incentive for all the MLOs, and this will create a value to the customer and allow them to increase more loading and discharging operation within all MMC ports. And we are in the midst of becoming our transshipment hubs once our MBCT gazetted as a free commercial zone FCZ area. So that's all from me. I would like to say thank you to everyone for giving me this opportunity to share with all you guys on the our Penang Port business outlook. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shukran. We have listened to experience shared by stakeholders in IMT-GT sub-region with regard to challenges during COVID-19 pandemic and potential opportunity that could be exploited to our advantage. Now I would like to open the floor for discussion on collaboration that can be considered and adopted to minimize impacts of COVID-19 to transport sector. This proposed Collaboration could be included from working group on transport and ICT programs for the years 2021. May I start with Indonesia?
From Indonesian side, I think for the sharing from Malaysia and from Thailand, it's nearly more or less the same with us. The experience, how to handle it and how to manage it. So we feel clear for the transport sector, nearly same between Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you, Indonesia, from the. I invite Nisha to add the discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, ladies and gentlemen, we all agree that it is important to keep the markets open for trade and investment to ensure sustainability of regional supply chains and to maintain necessary flow of goods and services. So, moving forward, as mentioned by our Secretary General this morning, we could look into travel bubbles corridor in which a set of countries agree to open their borders to each other. In this regard, we need to engage member states to discuss proposal to form travel bubble. But I believe this at this point this will be done bilaterally with green countries. Malaysia, through Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, has reviewed and adopted the guidance for air travel takeoff. This is issued by ICAO COVID-19 Aviation Recovery Task Force. The document provides a framework for addressing the impact of the current COVID-19 pandemic on the global aviation transportation system. This proposal is being deliberated by the ASEAN Air Transport Working Group meeting, which is taking place now, yesterday and today. So we could take cues from the meeting on the way forward so that we don't duplicate the role of ASEAN, so we could take cues from the meeting. Also, we believe the use of electronic solution is best for effective and commercial interactions between all entities involving shipping, seaports, and hinterland transportation to reduce the risk posed by the manual exchange of documents. So we may want to look into increasing the use of ICT in maritime sector. This was also mentioned by the Secretary General this morning. We need to study how our supply chain is exposed to COVID-19 risk and also the impact of COVID-19 on the transport sector in this region. So actually we've attended a lot of meetings, I think in the past. We've been at ASEAN level at various other meetings. We're discussing, sharing information about COVID, the risk, the impact, some data. But what we need to do in the future is not just share, but study, analyze, and use the data for decision-making purposes. I think that is what we should do next, instead of just sharing. So that's all, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nisha. Next, may we hear a proposal from Thailand?
Would like to reiterate what I have mentioned on Agenda 3, sharing experiences on 4 recommendations for working group to cooperate and work towards how IMT-GT can push the projects and activities in 2021 program to meet the target of IMT-GT implementation blueprint. In addition, we may need to explore how to harmonize the facilitating measures for COVID-19 preventive and mitigating measures to harmonize bottleneck at cover border and transport interface points. Thank you.
From Thirapat from the NASDC. As the Thailand NS, I would like to add that with the permission from the Chair and the Madam Chair of Thailand. Indeed, I had attended so many COVID-19 pandemic visual conference with the other working group, ahead of this working group, and it seemed that one thing that's very important is that we need, to find the timeline that we could start traveling before we can plan about the priority of the PCPs. We need to check what is the exact timeline that we can open the borderline. That means that during this period we can exchange goods and services, but for tourists and for the greater traveling, from that we need the exact timeline. And I thank to Kun Pairot, my ex-boss, and the recent director of SIM, about, he mentioned about the game changer, that just means the East Coast, the sixth economic corridor of the IMT-GT. Indeed, during this period, the ADB conducted the study on the economic corridor, and it seemed that we're going to have some change on the element of the projects inside the PCP project inside the corridor. I think during this period, we have also taken into consideration the change on the strategy from China and the USA. We utilize the Belt and Road Initiative as the game changer for the IMT-GT, but during this period, I believe China got to focus how can to solve the problem in the country, and the problem, like us, all the member countries of the IMT-GT, the budget to utilize for the PCP got to be changed. And I think in China too, the Belt and Road Initiative got to be amended a little bit, and we got to know, we got to have the link with the Chinese government what about the amendment of the plan. And for the US, we have to wait for, after the election of the president at the end of the year, we will know who's going to be the next president, and about the Indo-Pacific strategy. It's going to change a little bit. So for the global strategy, we need to take into consideration too. So, and for the travel bubble, for I noticed so many people think about that. During the exchange of views during the COVID-19 for the working group on tourism, we also mentioned on that. But it seemed that there is a way very far for the bubble travel travel bubble to be happen, because we have seem like we have some more pandemic the next round, so it's hard to find the couple of the country that can start. And it seemed like the tourism authority, Thailand, is now trying to create something like the SAP, the Special Arrangement Practice, the SAP, that's going to be something come instead of the travel bubble. Because for the travel bubble, we got to, got the permission from every sector of the country that is going to be 100% sure for no create more pandemic, something like that. So I believe we have to exchange view more with the working group on tourism about the SAP. And for the, during this period is quite close to the end of the IB, this IB in 2021, and we got to think about the next IB. And with this pandemic, we are going to think together for the future next 5 years for the next IB. And I believe the idea from this virtual meeting will be the input to put into the the choice of the leader for the next summit in April next year too. And I believe we can exchange more and put everything we think together in reality very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Thailand, for the input. May I invite Binti Pelindo Satu and Pinemport for any inputs, if any?
from Penang Port, actually we are okay. Yeah, just we hope that we can continuously improve in the port sector, because for us, of course, the profitability of the company, and also for the nation as well of the trade, we are willing to join for any discussions in near future.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now arrived at our last agenda of the meeting. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Firdaus Dahlan, Director of CIMT, to summarize our discussion today. Thank you.
During this discussion, I think it's very, very fruitful discussion, and it's very, very recommended actions, for coming years. So during the first session of our discussion this morning, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand has shared their experience and best practice impact of COVID-19 in each of respective countries. From Indonesia, we noticed that the impact of COVID-19 to the transportation is huge. We can say here around 50 to 70% demand decrease. This also happened to land transportation, sea transportation, and also air transportation as well. And one also a very important point here, the cruise is also been closed during the pandemic. And also domestic arrival from all flights, also decreased more or less 88.36%. So you can imagine, how severe the impact of COVID-19 to the economy, to the transportation activities in Indonesia. In Malaysia, it's also the same. During the MCO, it also dropped, the passengers almost to 94.3%, or less 7,500 per day. So we can imagine that the Malaysia also facing severe impact of COVID-19 to the economy and also to the transportation. In Thailand, the same also happened. The impact of COVID-19 to the business activities and transportation as well. The three countries already taken the initiative, mitigation measure, how to overcome the impact of COVID-19 and to find out solution or ways how to improve the situation in coming years. So including for the post-COVID-19. That is the sharing experience and best practice from the three countries that we can notice here. Interestingly, in Thailand, we also noticed during the COVID-19, Thailand also used the application Thai Chana. This is also very interesting, where we can also learn, from Thailand how to use these applications, for the benefit of people and to contain the COVID-19, the spread of COVID-19. And also, it seemed to me that the e-commerce in the three countries also becoming more and more important, especially during the COVID-19. From our colleague from ADB, I would like also to thank Gary ADB for this one. It seemed that for the first action, ADB also provided around 3.7 billion assistance, including to the IMT-GT countries through the policy, response, recovery, and resilience. And on top of that, IDB also channeled some assistance to the IMT-GT countries. Moving forward, IDB also looking forward for collaboration in digital trading using the ICT, transport and transport facilitation to promote public transportation. In the health of or medical tourism, it is also one of the important points highlighted by ADB that the tourism is also important pillar of cooperation in IMT-GT, for which we are also going to pursue for this one in collaboration with IDB and member state. And under the agenda 4, Mr. Prasetyo from Pelindo 1 also share with us what is the companies, what is the Pelindo 1 initiative taken, in facing the COVID-19. And also measure taken post-COVID-19. Pelindo 1 also emphasized on the importance of innovation and to be adaptive to the new normal, and while maintaining the high productivity. So that's from the Pelindo 1. And then interesting as well, when we come to agenda number 5, turning crisis into opportunities. So the university here, we have heard already the views from university, from Mr. Pirate. He also emphasized on the importance for us, IMT-GT, to link IMT-GT with big market China through BRI link. And on top of that, he also touched upon the importance of to develop human resources development, digital technology, innovation, and of course, promoting research and development. He also touched on the importance of digital trading in coming years that we have to pursue as well. While JBC from the private sectors represented by Penang Port, we also hear from his presentation during the COVID-19 or MCO, even though the terminal is open 24/7, however, the impact is also huge. Interesting to note here, 70% of South Thai volume of trade are exported through Penang Port. So we can see here how important the role of Penang Port in supporting the trade in the sub-region. So we would like also to thank to the Penang Port for your important role in promoting business in the sub-region. We notice here cargo, container, conventional cargo, cruise operation, all of them decreased due to the COVID-19. But we notice as well, you have taken as well some mitigation measure post-COVID-19. Some of the highlight that we can capture during this discussion. But one thing that we would like to also thank to our speakers today, it seemed to me that some recommendation that we have to take also into account and to be further discussed. As mentioned by Datuk this morning, we may consider the new project for the green travel bubble for the region. So I think that this is also very important and very good recommendation. And I do hope that through the working group of transport and ICT, we can further for this one. If possible, the Minister of Transport Malaysia under the directors Rosby Abdurrahman, if you can also prepare the concept note for this one, I think that it will be fantastic, that we can further discuss during the coming working group meeting. So we are looking forward for this one, and my team is also already here to collaborate how we can materialize this proposal recommendation. And then Thailand also recommend on the need to for timeline and funding for new transport connectivity project. So thank you also for Thailand for your recommendation. We will also discuss further with you later on how we can materialize this one for coming projects, a potential project. And last but not least is also the importance of e-commerce platform for us. For our information, the e-commerce platform has been one of the ongoing project at the moment. So under the sub-working group ICT. So I believe that the progress is already very good, and hopefully we will have more clear concept and the action plan. When are we going to have the e-commerce platform in the sub-region? That is our task that we are going to pursue for the next program. So, Chair, it is not a comprehensive summary from us. We will do it due to the limited of time. We will share with you later on in written, including the minute of the report. That's all from me, Chair. Since we are already close to 1 o'clock at the moment, I understand this is very crucial time for us. And now, Chair, may I invite you, if there is no comments or from participants or from speakers, I would like to invite the Chair to deliver a closing remark. Time is your Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fitaus. The summary presented by CIMT marked the end of our meetings today. I would like to record my appreciation to all members of the meeting for your active participation in this meeting. Hopefully we could meet again physically for better exchange of view for the betterment of transport connectivity in IMT-GT sub-region. Finally, I wish all of you excellent health and stay safe. Thank you.
And also before we left from CIMT, allow me also to convey our gratitude to all of you, to the speakers, to all participants who joined us this morning in this virtual conference. Indeed, your contribution is very important for us, it's very valuable in order to strengthen our collaboration in the future. So again, thank you so much for our team in CIMT, and looking forward to see you again in the next IMT-GT event. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.